When using heat transfer vinyl or iron-on, many crafters will ask, what heat setting should I use? And no wonder you're asking the question, because there are so many different brands of heat transfer vinyl. Every brand has a variety of different types of HTV, and then there's also a variety of heat presses on the market. So it may be difficult to determine what heat press setting you should use. So in this video, I'm going to help you determine what setting is best for your project. If we're just meeting right now, hi, my name is Nisha. Welcome to Little Craft Nest. So the first thing I want to talk about is Cricut brand vinyl and Cricut brand heat presses. Just because Cricut makes this process very, very easy. It gets a little more complicated sometimes when we go into different types of material and different brands. So we're going to start simple and we'll start with Cricut. Cricut has a heat guide online that you can easily access, and this is going to really help you out. If you've never used Cricut's heat guide before, I strongly encourage you to check it out. All you need to do is select your Cricut heat source, then select your heat transfer material, and then choose your base material. And then Cricut will walk you through each of the steps you need to take. It'll give you the right times and temperatures and any additional tips that you need for your project. And you know their settings will be correct because Cricut tests their products on their heat presses over and over again, so you'll be sure to end up with the best results. So I'm going to leave the link for Cricut's heat guide down below in the description of this video, so you can access it there. So what do you do if you're not using a Cricut brand heat press or Cricut iron-on vinyl? How do you know the times and temperatures you need for your project? The first place I suggest you look is on the manufacturer's website. Many manufacturers of different vinyl will have a heat guide on their website. And I have discovered a few of those, and I will also post those in the description below. So I often use Tech Wrap vinyl, which I absolutely love. I've used HTV Rond, I've used Caesar. There are many different brands, so that's always a good place to start. Now, sometimes when these companies come out with a new type of heat transfer vinyl, they don't have the heat setting posted, so then you may have to play around a little bit. Or sometimes what happens is you totally forget what type of vinyl you have and where you got it from. So maybe you have a pile of scraps of vinyl like I do, and you're just like, where did this vinyl come from again? I don't remember. The best place to start would be just to find a similar type of vinyl and see what's recommended and then try that setting. So if you had a scrap piece of glitter HTV, go and find a glitter HTV setting on one of the heat guides I have listed below and see what's suggested and try that and see if it works. I always recommend to have a notebook in your craft room. I have one, actually I have many because I filled so many of them up. So every time I use a new material, I often have to test the settings. So sometimes I do test cuts, sometimes I do test heat press settings. And so it's important to write those down. So even if it's a fail, you can write this setting did not work. And once you do find the right setting, make sure you mark that down so that the next time you use that material, you'll know exactly what to set your heat press at. Now, there are some variances when using different heat presses. For example, if you're using a Cricut Easy Press, the heat distribution is dependent on your weight, versus if you're using something like an HTV Rond Auto Press or the Cricut Auto Press, it automatically clamps itself and adjust the pressure itself. Or you may have a heat press like this one here, a clamshell press, and you can manually adjust the pressure. So pressure is often a factor when pressing heat transfer vinyl. So that is something to be aware of. So Caesar Heat Transfer Vinyl actually recommends that when you're using their product with a Cricut Easy Press, to add an extra 30 degrees Fahrenheit. So if your recommended temperature for your Caesar brand heat transfer vinyl is 305 degrees, you're gonna wanna set your Cricut Easy Press to 335 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's something to keep in mind as well. So again, make sure you're writing notes down and see what works and see what doesn't work for you. Now, what if you follow the correct temperature and the correct time for your heat transfer vinyl project and you're still having problems. What do you do then? Well, let me give you a few tips and I'll help you problem solve. One of the first things you should always remember to do is pre-press your material. So that's just going to be putting your heat press on top of your material for anywhere from 5 to 20 seconds, light pressure, just to remove that moisture, and that's going to help your vinyl adhere much better to the shirt. Now, when you do that, you can add a Teflon sheet or a piece of parchment paper on top of your material just to protect your material from getting too much heat or from getting dirty. The next thing to remember is make sure your material is clean. Now, if it's a brand new shirt, you do not need to pre-wash it. You can if you want, but that is up to you. If you're using a shirt you've had for a while in your cupboard and you've worn it a number of times and now you want to put something on that shirt, you can go ahead and do that, but just make sure there are no stains or any debris on your shirt because that will hinder your vinyl as well. If your shirt has been washed heavily prior with a lot of fabric softener, that's also going to weaken your material and not allow for your vinyl to stick well on your shirt. You'll also want to clean your material with a lint roller, regardless of if it's brand new or old. Often with brand new shirts, you'll get a whole pile of fibers on your shirt. Usually after you wash a brand new shirt, when you take it out of the dryer, there's a whole lot of extra lint coming off that shirt. So that's why we use a lint roller, just to make sure our surface is even and clean. Another thing you're going to want to double check on your heat press is your settings. Most heat presses are able to switch between Fahrenheit and Celsius. So make sure you have your setting correct and you're not setting your heat press at 300 degrees Celsius when it should be 300 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, another reason vinyl may not stick to your shirt well is because of pressure. This typically happens if you're using a home iron, which I do not recommend, but this can also happen when using an easy press. Again, because you are using your own body weight to press your design onto the shirt. So if you do not have enough pressure, but you have the right temperature, your vinyl still may not stick. One way to tell if your vinyl is sticking properly to the shirt is you'll often be able to see the texture of your material through the vinyl. So look at that. If you're able to see some weaved fabric lines through that vinyl, that means it is stuck on there really well. Now, maybe you finished making your shirt and it looks amazing. You wear it once or twice and then you throw it in the wash. You take it out of the dryer and your vinyl starts peeling. And you're like, what did I do wrong? Well, it could be your washing method. It is recommended to wash any shirt that you make inside out. Also wash with cold water and don't use really harsh soap and avoid using fabric softener. This is going to ensure that your shirt gets the most life possible. Also, you're going to want to wait 24 hours after you have pressed your design on your shirt before you begin to wash. So what is the ideal temperature for your project? Typically, you'll want to set your heat press somewhere between 260 degrees and 315 degrees Fahrenheit, or 130 to 160 degrees Celsius. Most projects are going to be somewhere in that range. For softer, lighter material like polyester, your heat setting will be lower. But for more thicker, dense material, something like burlap, your heat setting will typically be higher. So do some experiments and see what works best for you. Now, another problem that many people encounter is when they are layering multiple layers of heat transfer vinyl. So if you want to learn how to do that properly, go check out this video right here, and I hope to see you on more crafting adventures.